Okay, so we'll start with the second chapter. So the way I do it is we keep switching back and forth between the PowerPoint and also we're gonna practice whatever we cover. Okay, so this way you are not just looking and getting bored, just going over the slides. You practice at the same time. Okay, so basically chapter 2 is about the basics of programming. As you can see, to start any program in C++, you need to have that kind of template. Okay, so it starts with first by comments. And comments are very, very important. They're not part of the program. They are just to explain, to describe what the program is doing. And you are explaining it to yourself first, because now it makes sense to you. The program makes sense to you. But after a month or maybe next year, if you go back to your program, you will have no idea what the program is doing. Okay? So it's good to describe what the program is doing. Maybe like a section of your program does specific task. You describe it in English, in your plain English, what the program is doing. So, and you are explaining it to yourself and also to your teacher and also to other people who are looking at your program. And there are two ways to make a comment. Let me switch back to that. For today, I'm going to be using the Replit. You can always use either Replit. Last time I used Visual Studio. So today I'm going to be using Replit to show you that you can use either one. It just to give like more space to type. So I'm gonna share the. Let me see. Okay, let me find it first. Square. Okay, so Replit basically is just an online platform. You can call it online IDE. So basically it's just a place where you can code, but you don't have to install anything. It's not like Visual Studio. You have to make sure that you install it, follow the steps, make sure everything is done properly. For this one, you just have to have internet. Okay, everything is done. It's good to have an account with them, because usually like you log in using your Gmail, because so you can save your work. Otherwise you're going to be typing, but after you leave, or you leave the website, everything is gone. It's not saved. But when you have an account, they keep track of your files. So usually like when you go to typereplit.com, it takes you, let me go back. So let me log out from here to show you how it's done. So first, when you go to Replit, that's what you see. This is the home page. And then you log in like this. You click on login, and then you log in using your Gmail. So continue with Google, and that should take you to the coding area. So here, for example, here I'm going to click on my email, and then you enter your email. Username and password, and should take you to the coding area. So that's how simple it is. So there is no complication whatsoever. And then the good thing about Replit, it has most of the programming languages in one place. For other programs, there is a program just for Java, or just one for Python, or one for C++ and stuff like that. But for this one, as you can see, if I click create, it's going to show me a bunch of programs. Which of the programming languages you want to use. So you have Java, you have Python. If you go down a little, you see C++. So you just click on it, and then you give it a name. This I'm going to name it variables data type. It's just a name. Okay, and I click create REPL, and that should take me to the coding area. As you can see, there are 3 sections here. The left one basically just for the files. The more files you have, you're going to see them on the left side. You can always add more files. You can have a folder where you can save all your files, and then also you can upload a file. Let's say you are using, but you're not going to use it now. Sometimes you have your file, and then you want to add a text file, okay, connected to your program. Then that's what you do. Or you can download as a zip. All your files, you can download them. So that's very, very useful. Another thing is, and this is the one in the middle, that's the coding area. That's the one in the middle. And the one on the right side, the black area, this is for the execution. This is for the output, what you're going to see. And this is, you can see it's a big play button right here, green one. That's when you run the program. So it's very simple, very straightforward. Now, if you don't like this kind of layout, you can change it. You can go to setting, and then you change from side by side to stacked. Stacked, that means on top of each other. You see the coding on top. That's what most IDE, they have this layout. And then you click reset, and you can see they're going to be on top of it. So whatever you feel comfortable, there's no, no one better than the other. It's just a question of preference. So when you start your program for the first time, that's what you see. Sharp, or there is like you can call it hashtag, include, and there is IOStream. So what is this? This is an external file that the C++ use, for your program. You don't have to know what's in there, but it just helps you with something like cout, for example, to display a lot of things. So it's there for you. So this is to help you. So you don't have to create everything from scratch. But the old programs should come with this. Hashtag include IOStream. Most of the programs, they are, when you create the first program, automatically it shows up in there. So you don't even have to include. If it's not there, you need to include it. Now, before you do that, let's add comments. We said comment is not part of the program. It just helps you make sense of what you are doing. There are two ways to make a comment, either 2//. As you can see, the color will change to gray. That means that's not part of the code. So I can put, for example, this program, or you can put your name, you can put the date, whatever the instructor asks you to do. So this program, for example, shows or discusses, whatever you want to say, discusses the basics of C++, for example, okay? And then you have this section right here. It starts with int main. That means that's the main area. You can call it the headquarters. And then there is, this is so important, which is the braces. It tells you where to start, where to end, which means if I type anything here, it's not going to be executed. Why? Because they're not even part of the program, because they're outside these braces. So make sure, because sometimes people, they have everything correct, everything, the code is perfect, but it's in the wrong place. It's not between these two braces. So make sure you have these two braces, because sometimes by accident you delete something and then you delete the closing brace with it. So that's going to cause the program not to run successfully. Now there is also STD, stand for standard, and then there is colon, two of them, and then cout. Cout, basically you are just printing something, displaying something. Now, every time you want to print, you have to repeat this. So to save ourselves time, we don't want to keep typing std colon cout. We're just going to play, or we're just going to use cout by itself. So for this to happen, you need to add this statement using namespace and then std. So once you type this statement right here, I don't have to put std colon anymore, just cout. It's like a abbreviation or shortcut. You can call it anything you want. So now you are ready to run your program, okay? When you run the program, it shows at the bottom what the output look like. So all what we did here is just type in hello world. That means if I take off hello world and I type something else, then it's gonna show, hey, this is my first program ever. Okay, if I run the program, that's what you're gonna see. So basically the program or the compiler will just copy whatever in there and it's gonna paste it at the bottom. That's all what it does. Now, can you see this \n? What is that \n? \n means like when you finish the next statement, make sure you start a new line, because if you don't have it, then if I use this, another statement, it's not going to be in the next line. It's going to be continuation of the first one. So I'm going to say here, I am excited. Always end with semicolon. If you don't add semicolon, the statement is not complete. So if I run the program, you're going to see that all of them in one line. Why? Because you never told the computer to start new line. So that's when you put \n, then it will make sure that I'm excited is in the next line. So basically, it's like you are hitting the enter key. It has the same effect. Or there's another option. If you don't want to use \n, you can use this. You can repeat this, the two symbols, and then you're going to put and L. And L means end of the line. That means make sure that you hit the enter key at this point. So I'm excited will be in the next line. That's all what it means, okay? So you can use either and L, and line, or \n, okay? So this is for cout. Every time you put cout, the computer will type whatever you have in there. Now there is something else also I can show you. Sometimes we use, so I'm going to put here, this is, and then right here, I'm going to use \T. So there are certain symbols, they have a special meaning. And one of them is \T. So when you put backslash and then you add specific characters, it means something different. Like for example, \T, it means tab. That means give me a tab. You know, like there is a tab on the keyboard. When you hit the tab, you have 4 spaces. That's what that one means. So \T means the computer will give you like a tab between is and my. Can you see how there is a space? It's 4 spaces in there. You may not see it, but it is a 4 spaces. Okay, so \T is just for tab. \n is just for new line. Okay, now let me ask you this: what happened if I do this? If I put cout, so and then I'm gonna put he told me that that I am nice, and I want to put nice because I don't believe them. So I'm gonna put between double quotation. For example, I want to say double quote nice. So what happened here? I was just trying to put nice between double quotation, but it caused problem. Why? Because you were creating kind of confusion for the compiler because you started with double quote. Any text, it has to start with double quote and end with double quote. So when you ended here, the computer may think that you are ending the statement, but you are not ending the statement. You just want to put nice between 2 double quotes. So avoid this problem, again, use that backslash. Backslash, the computer will say, oh, okay, you are not ending the statement, you just want to put it between double quotes. I understand that. So there are some situation when you have problems like this, you need to fix it. And they're called escape sequences. So they have a special meaning, like \T is not like a character T. No, it means tab. \n is not the character N. Okay? So, and also they have another one for the backslash. When you have 2 backslashes, it will show you only one. For example, let me add another statement. If I put, for example, right here, let's say I want to explain what \n means. So I'm going to put here \n means start a new line. What do you think is going to happen if the computer, how the computer is going to understand that? We already explained what \n means for the computer. It means start new line. But that's not what I want. I just want to explain to my students what \n. So I want to make it as a statement. But the computer is going to say, it's not going to put \n means, it's going to say, it's going to start new line and type means start new line. If you run the program, you're going to see it. See, it's going to say only means start new line, but I want to see, I want to see that \n. So you have to add another one. So the computer will say, oh, you want to type the backslash, you want to type it. Okay. So this is something that we don't use a lot, but it's good to know them. Okay. So as you can see right here, now it says, oh, \n means start new line. So we call them escape sequences. They have a special meaning, but we don't use them a lot in our programming. Okay, so this is about cout. Now, the second thing we're going to be using is the variable. Why? Because before I start talking about variable, in reference to the programs, all what you need to do is just using cout. So the first program number 1, is super easy. All what you need to do is create a contact information. So if you haven't done the program yet, so all what I ask you to do, like you can pick any symbol, maybe star or anything, and then make the first line, see? And then to save myself time, I'm just going to copy that and then repeat. And then I'm going, so now I have 2. See? If you want to see how it looks like, I'm going to run the program and see. Okay, now I started with the border. Now the second one, what I'm gonna do, okay, for the third one, for third line, I don't need all of them. I'm just gonna need only two from each side, and the rest is just spaces, or I can leave a little space and then type the name of the person, Maria Gomez, and then make sure it is aligned. So I'm gonna put here, but star, star. See that? Or something like that. Okay, make sure that it is centered. So I'm gonna, okay, add more space here, and then I'm gonna remove some spaces to make sure they're aligned. And then you run the program and you're gonna see what it looks like. See that? I'm close. So I started with the name, now I'm gonna continue with the address and so on. So it's not complicated, it just shows you how to basically to work with COUT. And then I'm going to do the same thing for here. I'm going to put the address or whatever it says in there. You don't have to put your own information. I don't want you to put your own information. You can put any you can put the example that I gave you, or you can put like a fake name and address. Just what it looks like. So I don't know, Hammerly Drive, something like that. See that? And then you're going to continue. So that's what the first program is about. Just create kind of small contact information. If you don't like stars, you can use hashtags. You can use any symbol you like. Okay, so that's program number one. Program number two, you're gonna do the same thing but creating your initials. Okay, let's say if your name is Maria Gomez, so you're gonna put M, just using the same thing. See out. Remember that you have to start with double quote and then you end with double quote. It's called string. That means the text. For the computer, whatever you put in there, that's what you're going to see. The computer is not going to add, is not going to remove anything. Okay? So that's what the program number two is about. Basically, you're just going to create your initials using any of your favorite symbols. Okay? Number three, you just make a calculations. Now, the good news is in computer science, we follow the same rule as in math, which is the order of operations, or what we call PEMDAS. So you don't have to make any changes. Why? Because the computer will start with the multiplication and then will end with addition, subtraction. So you don't have. The only thing you need to be aware of or careful about is the last program, program number 5. Why? Because the output has to be 82.5. And that's something we're going to be talking about today. When you make some calculations, there are something that you are not familiar with in math. And one of them, for example, when you divide an integer by integer, you get only the integer part of the number. Let me show you an example here. So we're going to delete this part. Now let's start with variable. Variable basically is just a place where you can save a value, like in math. In math, we use variables. Why? Because we want to hold value. Anything that holds value and can change, you can change it. X equals 5, but you can change it to 4. You can change it to 0, stuff like that. That's what they call it variable, because it varies, okay? Now, in computer science, it's pretty much the same thing, but there is something extra. When you declare or define a variable in computer science, the computer will create or allocate a space in the memory for that variable. Okay, if you don't have a place on the computer cannot remember that variable. It has to create a space in the memory. So that's what variable is. So for example, let's say I need a variable for grade. So I'm going to put int, and then I'm going to put grade. Okay, so int means that the computer now is aware that this variable is of type integer. There is no decimal, there's no point something. That's what int is, for integer. And then type grade. Let's see. And then grade in space. And then I put semicolon here. So all what I did here, I define an integer variable. That's what I did. An integer variable. That means I have intention to use. I did not assign a value yet. I just declare, I just define it. So the computer will allocate space in the memory for that variable. If I want to assign it, I can. I can do it either later or now. Let me do it now. Maybe I do have a value. So I'm going to put 85. That means I'm assigning this value 85 to a variable grade. Okay? So that's one of the data type is integer. Again, integer does not, I cannot put something like this. I can't. Look, it's underlined with red. That means it's not a valid assignment, because you cannot assign a decimal value to an integer variable. It's just like it does not fit. Okay, so make sure that it is, even if you put this, it's wrong. Maybe the computer will accept it, but you are not supposed to have point something. Okay, in other languages, this is an error, period. It does not even allow it. But C++, maybe it's kind of lenient a little bit. So definitely if you put point something like 1, 2, 3, 4, that's wrong. But if you put 0, the computer may be lenient to say, okay, that's close to 85. It's the same thing. So let me see here if that's going to cause a problem or not. No, it did not cause problem. Yeah, but if I put this, then it is a problem, because you cannot use. So it is underlined, it's not accepted. So remember, this is only for integer, okay? Now, what about if I want to use a decimal? There is a data type for that. It's called double. So double is another way to say decimal. Like, for example, I can put, for example, average. Average usually accept decimal. So I'm going to put, let's say, 92.8. So that's the right data. Data type is what type of data you're going to be using. So the computer has, or the compiler has to know what type. It's like, for example, you have different shoes. You have to know what box is going to fit. If you have shoes for kids, they have a special boxes that small, fit the kids. If there is medium, then there is boxes for medium. There's one for adults, then there is boxes. All of them are shoes. That means all of them are for numbers, but numbers are not the same. Okay, now let's do some calculation here. So for example, if I put C out and I put here 5 divided by 2. So let's see what the computer has to say about this. If I run the program, I try to divide. Look, I got only 2 here. That means 0.5 is gone, because there is a rule, and I'm going to write it here, that you have to remember. When you divide an integer over another integer, you get an integer only. Okay? And the only way, somebody may say, what about if I want to keep the decimal? Okay, if you want to keep the decimal, there are 3 ways, or there are more than 3 ways. Either you are going to change one of them, either 5 or 2, and add 0.0. For you, it does not make any difference, but for the compiler, it does make a difference. So if I put 5 point, that's all what you need to do. So for the program number 5, you have this situation, because all the numbers are integer, you're going to add them up. And to be able to add them up first, you have to use the parentheses. And then when you divide by 4, that's another integer. That means the decimal will be gone. So technically, you are supposed to have 82. Was it 82 or 80? I don't remember. Point something. Point something. So you're not going to see that point something unless you change one of them, either the total on top or what you are dividing by, which is in this case 4. You have to change it to 4.0. So now 5.0 over 2, look what I'm going to get. I'm going to get the exact number, which is 2.5. So that's one way of keeping. I'm sorry, what did I put? Oh, because I put one after the other, and I forgot to start new lines. I'm going to put and L. Because it printed the first one and the second one next to each other, because I never ask that you start new line. Okay, so we're going to get 2.5. Another way also, which is changing 2 to 2.0. That also will give you 2.5. Another way is, in front of the number, change it to double by, it's called casting. That means it's like you are asking temporarily the compiler to convert 5 from int to double. So it's like you are putting 5.0 in a different way. So this will give you 2.5 as well. So remember this, because sometimes you get, distracted by so many things and you forget that you have to do this kind of changes. I remember I gave my students a program in which they have to calculate the area of the triangle. So I gave them the base, I gave them the height, and I told them, okay, go ahead and create a program that's, that calculate the area. Now, everybody knows what the area, what the formula is. It's 1/2 times base times height, right? Or base times height divided by 2. They did exactly that. They did just that. But every time they calculate, they get 0. And they keep asking, oh, Mr. E, why we keep changing the base and the height and we keep changing 0? Because 1/2, remember, integer over integer, you're going to get only 0. So since you are multiplying by the base and height, you're going to keep having the same thing. So it will never change. You can keep changing the base and height, but if you are multiplying by 0, you're going to end up having 0 all the time. So just be aware of this, okay? So C out is this, okay? So now what about if I want to save? Does the computer allow me to do that? Probably. If I put 5/2, if I saved it, so the computer will print only 2, right? So I'm going to put C out. Always make sure you end with end lines, so we don't keep typing in the same line. So if I put X, it's going to put 2. Now, what about if I put, again, 5.0? Who can tell me what I'm going to get here? Okay, I want you to get involved here. So what do you think I'm going to get? I'm going to get error. I'm going to get 2.5. I'm going to get 2. What do you think? Without running the program, don't cheat. So just tell me, what do you think
You'll get 2.5.
2.5? Yeah, but look at the data type. What did we say at the beginning? We said the integer cannot accept a decimal. You cannot accept that. So it is impossible for an integer to hold a value. So for this, for C++, it accepts only the 2. So when you run the program, I'm going to run it, it's going to show only 2. In a different language like Java, that's an error. And that's not, the computer will not compile, the program will not compile. But for C++, it accepts only 2. But now what about if I put double here? So the problem here, and this will be 2.5. There's no problem. Why? Because this is a double, and double accept the decimal. Do you see the difference now between the two? Remember, integer accept only the integer. It cannot accept anything. It's impossible for integer to hold a decimal value. It's just when it does the calculation, 5.0/2, you're going to get 2.5. But since the variable is of type integer, so the computer cannot accept the whole number. It will accept only the integer part of it. So this is just, yes.
I'm sorry. So since you put double on that one, if you took out the 0, the 0.0, will it still give you 2.5?
No. Remember, integer over integer. I put this right here. Look. Divide an integer. You're gonna get only 2. You get only 2.
Okay.
Now the only difference is when you put a double, that's when you keep the entire number. But only if you put 5.0 here.
Okay.
But if you put, look, listen right here. What do you think I'm gonna get here? 5/2 is 2. It's not gonna change. Yes, X is double, but unless you change one of them to 0.0, you will never have a decimal, period.
Okay.
So this is one of the few things that people get confused. But if you get that concept that integer over integer is integer, and the integer variable can never hold a decimal value. So if the calculation gets you, for example, point something, and the variable is of type integer, only the integer part will be saved. The other one will be ignored. Okay, so this is one. Okay, so we said about int is for integer, double, and also we have another one called character. Character or char. Char is for one single character, like for example A, and it has to be between single quotes. Okay, So if I print, for example, right here, cout, and I put letter, it's going to give me A. Okay, of course, I have to always make sure I end every line, so it's not new one. Now, what happened if I put this plus 1? Letter is A plus 1. What do you think I'm going to get?
A.
Well, you added 1. What comes after A?
Oh, B.
B, that's what you got in here. What about if I added 3? See? Because the computer knows that it is a character, so it's not going to give you a number, okay? So it's going to give you D, because 3 characters after A is B. What about if I have this, a D, and I put minus 1? What do you think I'm going to get?
C.
C, because C is before D. It's just basically just like numbers, but there you're gonna see that. Now, what happened if I put this? Oh, let me change it back to this. Okay, this one we have to pay attention to this. What about if I put here int? What do you think I'm gonna get?
0.
I don't expect you to know it. The computer will convert that letter to a number. Now, I want you to keep in mind that every key in the keyboard is associated with the number. And I'm going to tell you what that number is. For A, uppercase, the computer is knows that there is a connection between that character and number 65. So that's going to give me 65. Now, somebody may say, how did you get that 65 from? Well, there is an organization that did all of this. Okay, they picked every single key in the keyboard and they give it a number. That means if you want to use the letter, you can use it. If you want to use the number associated with it, you can. Now, I'm going to stop for a minute and show you where I got these numbers from. So I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to go to a website right here. Okay, let me go to, okay, I'm going to share the, what is the website right here? Okay, this one. So if I go, this the website is called ASCII table, ASCII table.com. This is where you have all the keys. Can you see this? All the keys. Can you find A uppercase? It's right here. What number next to it? 65. So this is, I did not make up these numbers. They are made by an organization that takes care of all of this, because they know that the computer does not understand anything except number. The computer does not know what A means. It has to be converted to a number. Okay, remember that the only language the computer understands is the binary system, which is a bunch of 0 and 1. That means you have to convert them to number and then form the number to 0 and 1. That's the only thing the computer, that's the only language the computer understands. If you put A, the computer has no idea what A means. Even a picture, it has to be converted to a bunch of numbers. Even a video, it has to be converted to a bunch of numbers. Everything and anything has to be done. And then since they are in order, so A is 65, B is 66, and so on. So you're going to end up having Z. Z is the last one, and the is 90. Now, and the lowercase is different from the uppercase. The uppercase, you have 97. Lowercase b, 98. Now, the good news is you don't have to memorize all of them. You just have to memorize 3 of them. Uppercase A, 65. If you know 65, you're going to know the rest of the letters. Uppercase. The same thing for lowercase a. If you know that it is 97, then you know the rest, all of them to Z. And then know that space, you know the space bar, it's 32. That's the only thing you need to remember. So that's the one we usually that's the frequently we use. Okay, so this is just a side point. I may not ask you, probably you will not even go over this, but it's good to know in case, see it somewhere, at least you understand what it means. So I'm gonna go back to our code. So we talked about integer. We said only for integer, double. We talked about the decimal, and then we talked about char. Now there is another one, another data type is called. So remember, we talked. Let's change it back to what it was, char, and then there's another word called bool. Bool comes from boolean. Boolean is something that accepts either true or false. If I say, for example, pass equals true. Either true or false. That's the only two values a Boolean variable accepts. For example, let me change something that, let's say, is, let's say, for example, right here, I have x, right? So I'm going to put here, let's change this one to int. Okay? And then I'm going to say, for example, right here, x is it equal to 4. This is a Boolean statement, either true or false. Okay? Oh, I have to give it a variable. Variable is say, oh, we have a grade, right? Oh, let me go use the grade. Let me say pass, and then I'm going to use grade. Is grade equal to 70? Is it true or false? Okay. See, I have to put the parentheses. See that? So is grade equal to 70? What is grade? It's 85. So it is false. So if I print pass, it's going to show me false. So if I put pass here, okay, and then again, make sure that's the end of the line. So pass is going to say false. Why? Because the grade is not equal to 70. That's wrong. Sorry, I forgot.
You have a double semicolon, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot that. Thank you so much. Okay. So if I run the program pass, it's going to say false because it's not equal to 70. It's giving me 0. 0 is the same thing as false. Now, what about if I put this? Is the grade higher or equal than 70? Yes, true. I'm going to get 1. 1 is the same thing as true. The same thing. So whether you put 1 or 0 or true and false, it means the same thing. Okay? Many places they put true, false. Sometimes they put 1, 0. But 1 means true, 0 means false. Okay? Same thing right here. So that's the fourth data type. Now, there is something like integer, but it's bigger because integer, it has a limited number, which is 2 billion. You cannot go beyond 2 billion. If you use any number beyond 2 billion, then this integer variable is not capable of holding the value anymore. So there is something called long. Long is the same thing as integer. The only difference is it has more capacity. It can hold bigger, huge values like trillions, and I don't know what kind of numbers. Maybe you are dealing with NASA or CIA or government, agencies would they use a lot of numbers, huge numbers. The integer is not going to work. So you need something, I don't know, distance. We're talking about distance from the moon or something. You need huge numbers. So I have to use that. For example, right here, okay, I'm going to use long. And there's also something even bigger than long. If you use long twice, long, that's even bigger. Basically, it's just question. We're not going to use it. We're going to use most of the time int, double, char, and bool. That's the only thing we're going to be using. But it's good to know what it means. The same thing for double. Remember we talked about the double? There is another data type is called float. It's the same thing as double. The only difference, float is less. It's like half the size of double. Double is twice. So it's the same thing. You can put like value equals, let's say 7.90. It's the same thing. So you can put double or float. It's just keep in mind that double has more capacity. You can hold big numbers than floats. That's the only difference. So that's why we're going to be using most of the time either integer or char, bool, or double. Let me add double somewhere in here. Double. Okay. Val. Okay. 78.98. Okay. So this is the data type we're going to be using most of the time. Okay, now we talked about something like we name. When you name a variable, can you name anything you want? I use pass, okay. I use distance, okay. I use x, okay. I use value. These are names, okay. But can I use any name I want? The thing is, we have 4 rules. I mean, you can name your variable anything you want, but you have to make sure that you don't violate 4 rules. The first rule, you cannot start with the number. For example, I cannot say something like int 5, and then you're going to say, let's say num or number. I cannot name it this way. Say it's underlined. You cannot start with the number like digits. You cannot. I mean, you can have a number in the middle. You can have it at the end. So I can have like a number in the middle. I can go right here. Even though like you should be naming your variable something like meaningful, so it describes what you are doing, but still the computer couldn't care less. It said, okay, as long as it is valid, I don't care, you can name it anything you want, or you can use it at the end but never at the beginning. So that's totally fine. Another thing also, you can use any special characters. I'm sorry, the only special character you can use is underscore. For example, I can use number, and then I'm going to put hide, for example. That's totally fine. But if I use dash, that's wrong. If I use question mark, that's wrong. I cannot use that. And the exclamation mark. So you cannot use any special character other than underscore. Now, underscore, I can start with it. That's fine. So either in the beginning, in the middle, at the end, it does not really matter. But underscore is the only character, special character allowed. Okay? Underscore is the only special character allowed. Okay, keep that in mind. Okay, and then also we cannot use the C++ keyword. Like for example, can you see like everything that is in blue? I cannot name my variable double. Why? Because it has a special meaning. I cannot name it float. I cannot name it char. I cannot name it namespace. I cannot name it include. I cannot name it using. I cannot name it main. I cannot name it. So anything that has a special meaning, I think if you go through the slides, one of the slides I think has like some of the keyword used in C++, but you cannot use any of these. I mean, if you are typing, you can tell if it is blue, most likely that's a Java keyword, that's a C++ keyword. You can never use it. Okay. So keep in mind there are 4 rules. Don't start with the number, and then also you cannot have a space. Like for example, right here, can I have a space in between this number and height? No. Why? Because it's creating confusion. Are you dealing with 2 variables or just one? So the compiler will get confused. That's why it is illegal to leave a space in between. You cannot have a space. It has to be one. Either put them together or put underscore between them or something like that, but don't leave a space. So there are 4 rules. Don't start with the number. Don't have a space in between. Don't use any special character other than underscore, and don't use any of the keyword that C++ is using. Okay, so this is for other than that, name your variable anything. But a good tradition, the good thing is to use a name that describe what you are doing. If you are calculating the grade average, it makes sense to call it grade average. Don't call it difference. Don't call it something has no bonus. Don't call it something that's going to describe. So when you are going over the program, remember that the compiler does not care. You may do the sum, okay, and then call it difference. The computer does not care. Why? Because the computer does not know what it means. It's just what is used for, okay, in the code. That's what matters. But you're going to be misleading people. You're going to be misleading yourself. If you name it other than what is used for, you're going to create confusion. So people are going to say, what are you doing? Why did you call it this way if it's doing that way? So be careful when you name your variable. Okay, so we talked about this, we talked about that. Now what else? Now the string, there is something called string that we're going to be using. Anything that has a text, it has we're going to be using string. So I'm going to use an example, and then also we're going to try to create a program, very simple program, so we can use some of this variable in action. Okay, so I'm going to do it here, just delete this stuff, and then go down. Okay, so I'm going to start with the name. So I'm going to put a name, let's say a name string. So if I want to say name, I'm going to put string. Okay, and I'm going to call it name equals, let's say David, for example. Okay, so the computer is saving this value David in a variable of type. I cannot put int in here because that's not a number. I cannot put double. I cannot put char. Char accepts only one single character, and it has to be between single quote. I can't do that. So I have to use string, lowercase. So string is anything that is between double quote, and it includes characters, whether they are letters, they are numbers, they are characters, special characters, as long as they are between. If they are not between double quote, now they become variable, which means the computer is going to start asking question. Okay, I'm not aware of any variable that you declare. I don't see int, I don't see double, I don't see string. So what is this David doing here? So once you take out the code, that means the computer is going to start asking question. What is this? Is this a variable? If it's double, why you didn't define it? But once you put the double code, then it's going to leave you alone. That means, okay, that's special things. I respect that. Okay, so that's the string. Now, what about if I want to have like an interaction with the user? I want to ask questions, or the computer will ask questions, and the user will type the answer. So let's say something like a triangle, for example. Okay, I want to ask some questions. So to ask questions, first one, you have to define all your variables. So let's say I want to calculate the area of a triangle. Okay, so I'm gonna say what do I need? I need the base. Now somebody may say, okay, why did you choose int? It's just my choice, but if you want to choose double, it's possible for the base to be double. It's more likely to be double than integer. I just made that choice, okay? But you can have that. And then I'm going to declare another one, which is height. Now they're both of them int. Can we combine them into one line? Yes. You just have to separate that with comma here and then put height. So you don't have to repeat integer because they share the same data type. So you can combine, as long as you separate them. You can have as many as you want. You can have 3, 4, 5, 6 variables. As long as they share the same data type, you can just keep separating them by a comma. But at the end, you have to close with the semicolon here. Okay, and then I need another variable for area. Now, area is most likely to be double. Now, definitely it has to be double. Why? Because you want to multiply by 0.5. So most likely you can have decimal involved. So I'm going to put area. Now, the first thing you need to do is declare your variable. But yeah, I have the values, but there's no values in there. Well, I don't want to assign, I mean, I can assign them values. I can put here equals 9, and this one equals 12, but the area I can calculate that. You don't give an area a value, you calculate that because there is a formula that you have to use. So it will be wrong for me to just assign a value because there is a formula that you have to apply. But let's say I don't want to assign values. I want the user to type whatever values they like. It's like when you go to websites and they say, okay, enter the base, enter the height. So you don't find the value in there, you enter that, whatever you like. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to use something called CN. Remember, we use cout. Cout is for displaying the info, to get the information out of the computer. What about if you want to get the information inside the computer? So I use the opposite of cout, which is CN. And then I'm going to use look at the brackets. I'm going to put them in the opposite direction. So when you put cout, they're pointing to the left. Now they're pointing to the right. And then I'm going to put, first one, I need to ask the question, because if you don't ask the question, the user does not know what to do. So I'm going to put here int, enter the base of the triangle. Because that's the first thing you're going to see. When you run the program, you're going to see this statement. If I don't see this statement, I don't even know what the computer needs, what they want. So I got the question. Now I'm going to put that. Whatever you type is going to be saved in this variable base. Okay, it will be saved. Okay, let me show you what happened here. When I run the program, it's going to say enter the base of the triangle. Now everything is on hold, right? The computer is waiting for me. Now let's say I don't want to type at the end of the line. I want to start next line. So I'm going to use that \n, right? So if I run the program, let me stop and run the program. So when I say enter the base of the triangle, the computer is waiting. Whatever I'm gonna type, it says 16. Once I hit the enter key, that 16 will be saved in which variable? In base. That's what CIN does. Okay, it accepts a value and save it in that variable so you can use it over and over again. So if I hit the enter key, now automatically it's in base. And then I'm gonna do the same thing for the second information, so which is the height. So I can just copy or type it again. And then I'm gonna say enter the height of the triangle. If you want. And then again, show you. And I'm gonna do the same thing. You type the question, somebody is gonna type something, and then it will be saved in my variable height. Because if you don't save it, then how are you gonna use it in your calculation when you calculate the area? Sorry, I deleted by accident the area. Okay. Now it's time to do the calculation. I got all the information. No, let me ask you this. Do I need to ask the user about the area or something that I can calculate myself? Shall I ask him, oh, what is the area of the triangle?
You calculate yourself.
Yeah, because there is a formula, I can calculate that myself. No, don't do this again. This is a common mistake. It's already declared, it's already defined as double. There's no point in repeating this because when you repeat, basically you are creating a new variable. That's why it's underlined. So the compiler is saying, okay, what are you doing? It's like somebody asking you the first time, okay, what is your name? Okay, my name is John. And then after a few minutes, what is your name? Oh, now it starts being, it's annoying. Are you asking me the first time? Just call me John, okay? John, can we go this? Can you give me this? John, so you don't have to keep asking me. That's what you are doing. You keep asking, what is your name? It's annoying. That's the same thing right here. So when you keep declaring, defining, so that's annoying stuff. Okay, I told you it is double. There's no point in repeating this. And then I'm going to do the calculation. But be careful what's going to happen when I do this. Let me see if you are paying attention. So if I multiply by base and multiply by height, who can tell me what happened here if I run the program cout and I put the area of the triangle is, and then I'm going to put in the area. I'm sorry, I'm going to put here area. What do you think is going to happen? We talked about this a few minutes ago when we talked about integers, double, variable, and then when you divide one by over the other. So who can tell me what's going to happen?
It won't give you a decimal?
Yeah, because 1 over 2 is what? It's going to give you a 0 because there is no point O in there. So that's going to give you 0. And then when you multiply 0 by any number, what you're going to get?
0.
Going to get 0. So how can I fix this?
Put a 0.5 instead of?
Yeah, exactly. It's just either 0.5, that's a good one, that's smart one to avoid. All the problem is put 0.5 or 0.5. Or if you happen to use 1, just put 1 over 1.0 over 2. Or you can put 0.0 next to, for 2. Whatever the situation, but don't leave it as 1 over 2. Because if I try, look right here, if I don't make any change, look what's going to happen. It's going to ask me for the triangle, for the base. Okay, what is the base? Base, let's say 10. Okay, what about the height? 7 inches or feet, whatever. Hit the enter key. The area of the triangle is 0. So somebody may say, I didn't get any error from the computer. Everything is fine. Nothing is underlined. So this is what we call a logical error, because there are 3 types of error. There is an error that the computer can show you, can point to. That's why you see something underlined. This is called syntax error. It's like in English, we have some mistakes are grammatical, and others has nothing to do with the grammar. It's like about the structure. That means the phrase does not sound right. Yes, you have everything, the verb is correct, the noun, but it just doesn't sound right. This is kind of a logical error in computer science. Okay, so this is a logical error. Why? Because you forgot to change this. So once I change this either to 0.0 or I put 0.5, then that's going to solve the problem. And the logical errors are the toughest one to find because it's hidden. Unless you have to go line by line until you figure it. It takes time. But the syntax, the computer is helping you. It's telling you, sometimes it tells you exactly which line you have a problem. Sometimes it will point, oh, you missed the semicolon, and then it's going to point to semicolon. That means you have to get them. So now it's going to be input 7. So now I got 35. Why I get 35? Is it correct? Right? Yeah, that's 35 because 70 divided by 2, 35. Yeah? So let's find a number that has decimal. So maybe you can have, let's say 6 and 9. Oh, okay, let me choose 15. Let's say 10, and then 3. 50. I couldn't think of. So there's something that
5
says
and 3.
Huh?
How about 5 and 3? It'll give you
5
15
and 3.
divided by 2.
Thank you for your help.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was struggling. There we go. Thank you. All right. So 7.5. So it looks like it is working. Okay. Any questions about this?
So if we put let's say 7.2 as the base, it wouldn't work because it's an integer, right?
Exactly. I'm glad you asked this question. Yes, it's not going to work because if you want it to work, all what you need to do is just go right here and change it to double. It's going to work.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question. Any other questions? So now you are able to add, you just complete like a complete program from beginning to the end. Now let's add something about string. Let's say I want to put the name of the person. So I'm going to put here string, and then I'm going to put name. And then the same thing, I'm going to ask the question here. So I'm going to put cout. Okay, what is your name? And then I'm going to put here, and then also I'm not going to forget to put \n. And then, what do you think I'm going to put here? So it's accept, just like base and height. I'm going to, if I put cin, now I'm going to try this, but we're going to have a little problem with this. If I put name, did I declare name? Yes. So what's going to happen if I do this? Let me run the program and see. Run the program. What is your name? Look, pay attention. I'm going to put the whole name, let's say. John Baker. What happened? Into the base of the triangle, into the height. They didn't give me the chance to answer any of the questions. You know why? Because when you are using for string, it detects only the first. Okay, let me stop everything else just to show you what happened. I'm going to stop here. And by the way, this is another way to make a comment for multiple line. We use forward slash and then asterisk. And then you go down to the end right here and then do the opposite. I'm going to put star and then forward slash. See, can you see? So I don't want to delete my code, but I don't want the computer to run it because I'm checking something. So you can do this. So I made it a comment by starting from on the top, you put forward slash asterisk, and then you go all the way to the end where you want it to stop and put the opposite asterisk. So that's going to make it a comment. So the computer will not look at it. It's going to focus on this. So let's say, for example, I'm going to print. just to make a point here, I'm gonna put okay. Oh, your name is name, or whatever the name is. So let's try this and see what kind of problem we have. Let's run the program. It's gonna ask only about the name. What is your name? John Baker. Oh, your name is John. What about Baker? That's the problem you have when you do this. When you put CIN name, it gets only the first part. That means once you get to the first empty space, the computer stops. How to fix this? We're gonna change it. We're gonna put this. We're gonna put get the entire line, get line, and then put CIN name like this. So this would get the entire line. Even if your name has 60 name, doesn't matter. It will detect all of them. So that's the difference, okay? If you put CIN, it's gonna get you only the first part, whatever the first part is. Once you get to the empty space, which is between John and Baker, it's gonna stop, it's not gonna continue. So that's what happened here. So now I'm not gonna have this problem. I can now make sure that everything is part of the code now. So I'm gonna go down and remove that comment. So now when I run the program, it's gonna ask the question normally. Okay, what is your name? John Doe. So that's gonna ask me the second question. 7, 3, C 10.5. Let me mention my name or whatever the name is at the end. So I'm gonna put here, maybe add right here. I'm gonna put name, see, name, and then maybe I put like a little comma or something. Okay, so that's gonna say name John Doe. The area of the triangle is this. I just want to add it, just in case like you want, because it is a variable. It should hold the value. So I'm gonna put here Maria Gomez. Enter the base 7, 3. Maria Gomez, the area of the triangle is 10. See that? So that's what the variable is, because variable will hold the value, so you can use it over and over again. So if I want to use it for something else, let's say I want to know, and that's something we're going to learn later on, next time, which is I want to know how many characters in the name. Let's say Maria Gomez, whatever the name, I want to know how many. Okay, I can find out. I'm going to put here say out. But before I do that, there is something that I have to add on top. There are certain situations when you have to add. So can you see like I use string at the beginning? Now if I use string, I have to add this, which is a hashtag, and I put include. I'm going to add a file that's going to help me, string. So whenever you have a string that you're going to be working with, add this. It helps you with a lot of functions that make things make your code much easier. So I'm going to put, let's say I want to know how many characters. I'm going to put name. I'm going to put has. And then I'm going to put here. How am I supposed to know how many characters? There is a way to do that. You put name and then you put length. See that? So length will count how many characters in the name. And then I'm going to finish by saying, okay, the name, let's say John Doe has 16 or 4 or 10 characters. See, now when I run the program, it's going to tell me how many characters it does. Excuse me. So it's going to repeat this. Okay, let's say John Doe. Enter the base 7. Enter the this 3. John Doe, the area of the triangle is 10.5. John Doe has 8 characters. Now I want you to count how many characters in John Doe, including the space. Remember, it includes the space too. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, it has 8 characters, including the space, because the computer counts everything from the beginning till the end. All right, any questions about this? Now, there's something before I stop here. What about sometimes you don't know what data type is? The computer sometimes can help you, can detect. The computer is so smart. Like, for example, I can put here, I don't know if it's integer or not, I'm going to put auto. Auto means the computer will figure it out. He's going to look at the value. He's going to say, oh, that's integer. So we can put, for example, right here, value equals 15. So I don't have to put int, but the computer will figure it out if you put auto. Okay, auto means okay, the computer figure out. If I put also like auto, and then I'm gonna put something that has decimal. Let's say anything that has a decimal. Give me something that has point something.
9.5.
No, give me the name of something
Oh,
that usually has a decimal value.
Pi?
What is it?
Pi? I'm not sure. Like
Oh, the
some.
pi. Well, the pi is different. Why? Because it's constant. It never changes. So you cannot call it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about something else. Let's say distance. I'm not gonna. Let's say distance. So the
Oh, okay,
distance
okay.
is 15.8. So the computer will figure out that 15.8 is a decimal, so it's gonna assign it double implicitly. You're not gonna see it. So auto means the computer will figure it out. Okay. So sometimes you use that. But it's better, look, it's better to declare or define your own variable so you have control. Because sometimes things may happen and then you may have problems. So it's better to define them yourself. So you are in control. Don't let the computer is in control because maybe something unexpected. It's not because the computer will make mistakes, but you may be misled or you may forget or something, and then you don't even remember what type it is. But when you put yourself, you will remember. So this is auto for for uh, for defining for the computer to define or to figure out what data type. So this is pretty much what you're going to be what we need to cover. Of course, next time we're going to continue building on that. Any questions about what we covered so far? Of course, when you go through the PowerPoint on the slides, now this will start making sense. It's going to say, oh, okay, when you read it directly from the slide, oh, you are not sure. I don't know what they mean by it. But when you practice it, when you see it like as example, it will make more sense. That's why programming is about doing, not about just looking and try to memorize. Yes, memorize help, but by the end of the day, you have to get yourself your hands dirty with the programming, with the coding. So that's what this lecture is about. Okay, any questions? Please ask any questions you have.
So for the assignment, do we have to do the 5 programs, right? I think
Yes, as I explained at the beginning, the first one I even showed you how to do it. So
yeah.
every line is C out. So in the first line, you're gonna print only the stars. The second one, the same thing, stars. The third one, you're gonna print only 2 stars, a little space, and then you're gonna put the name, whatever name you choose, and then space, and then 2 stars. So when you run the program, it should show like that. That's all what it does. The only thing you're gonna be using is C out, like this. And then you print. It's like you are printing line by line, line by line. Okay, it's like you are trying to do it manually. So you're not gonna type all the lines at one time. You're gonna start with the first line, and then the second line, and the third line, stuff like that. The second problem is the same thing, but you're gonna put your initials. So let's say, for example, F. So you're gonna put a bunch of stars, maybe 2 of them, and then the second one, you're going to leave a space. You're going to start with the stars and then leave space. So it should look, when you run the program, it should look like that letter F. Which symbol you're going to be used? You're going to be using, it's up to you. Use hashtags, use stars, use dots, whatever you like, as long as it shows like, initials, that's what matters.
Okay. Okay.
For number 3 and 4, this is just calculation, but the last one, number 5, be careful because we talked about this. Because I ask you to add the numbers because I gave you like grades, like 4 grades. You need to add them up and divide them by 4. Now remember, the average has to be decimal. And we talked about what happened when you divide integer by integer. So you have to make change. There are 2 changes that you have to make. First one, you have to force the program to start with the sum first, because according to the order of operation, the computer will start with the division. So it's going to divide by 4, then it's going to add the other numbers, the other grades. That's not what you want. You want to add them up, get the sum, then divide. How can I force the program to do that? By using the parentheses. So when you use the parentheses, you're going to add them up. And then when you divide by 4, how can I make sure the decimal is there? By using 0.0, or you can put double in front of the variable. So that's all what the 5 problems were. I already gave you the answer now, so you just have to put them in there. I know some of you already did that, but you still have time to do that. Any other questions?
I'm sorry, I have another question actually.
Yes, ask as
So-
many questions as you want.
Perfect. So for now I'm also on the what is the Replit um website. So how can I download my code to send it to you as a to the assignment?
I think if you go right here, can you see like on the left side? Okay, there are many ways. Or what you can do, the easy way, look, let me show you. Let's say this is the program, okay? There is other ways, but let me show you. Okay, what you can do, just get the entire thing. Look, the entire thing, copy it. I'm telling you the easy way for, you don't even have to. So let's say this is the entire, make sure that you don't miss anything, okay? Copy it. And then open Notepad, Notepad, right? The text file. And then paste it in there and save it. That's it. I just want to see the code. That's all what I need.
Okay.
So if this is easy for you, do it, okay? Go to a Notepad. Okay, let me show you an example here. And then can you see like in my Notepad? You can see it, right? So I have to stop and show you. So I'm going to open, I'm going to share, where is the text file? Okay, this one right here. So, and then you paste it like this. See, this is the code. That's all what I need. And then you go File, Save As, save it anywhere in your computer desktop, and that's the file you need to turn in with the screenshot. Does this make things easier?
Yes.
Yes.
And also,
If you have CPP file, like people are using the Visual Studio, just find the one that ends with CPP. Look where you saved your files. Give me only the one that says CPP. Just leave the other files. Don't worry about them. And then make sure you take a screenshot when you run the program. Like after you run the program, it's gonna show you something, right? So take a screenshot of that. That's it.
yes.
So these two things for every program.
Yeah, and we have to then will be 5 submissions in one, right? 5.
Yeah, if you want to have them together in one file, I'm okay with that. If you want to put them separately, I'm okay with that. Whatever works for you. I just want to see the code and the screenshot. How it's totally up to you.
Okay. And so I saw that you put the due date to be Friday, but you gave a 2-day grace period.
Yes. No,
Those
this
two
is just
things.
to help you because sometimes if I put the deadline on Sunday, people they're gonna wait until Sunday. But when you're on Friday, they're gonna kind of force themselves to try. And then if there is an emergency or there is something that really prevented you from turning it over Friday, then you still have that 2 period, like 2 days as a grace period. It's just kind of psychologically it helps.
Okay.
To kind of push you
Even,
to do it as soon as possible.
so even if I submit it on a
No, it's not late. If it's
Okay.
after Friday, it just wait to kind of push you to do it as soon as possible.
No. Makes sense. Thank you.
All right.
Well, that's
All right.
it.
Any
From
other
my
questions?
Well, yeah, he kind of did answer my question about the CPP file, but can I just share just like to make it simpler? My
Yes.
screen?
Okay. Let me
Okay.
stop the. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Yeah. Let me stop the recording because we are done.
Okay. Share my screen.